Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian. I am here today at the Rock Island Auction House taking a look at some of the guns that they're going to be selling in their December of 2016 premiere auction. What we have here today is a Frommer rifle. Now Rudolf Frommer, we've gone into his background in some other videos. Suffice to say he was a very talented designer, engineer, self-taught. He actually received an honorary engineering degree later in life. But he worked for the FEG factory or manufacturing concern in Budapest, Hungary. And he is best known for a whole series of pistols that he designed and had manufactured, the Frommer 1901, 1906, 1910, through the Frommer Stop. Now the Frommer Stop was actually a pretty successful pistol, a couple 100,000 of them made. They were officially issued by the Austro-Hungarian army during World War I. Pretty cool. And one of the features that ties all of his pistols together is that they are all long-recoil locked breech systems. Now that's a system that's really a lot stronger than it needs to be for the relatively small pistols that he was making. What we have here is a rifle design that I have not been able to find really any reference material on. There's very little I can tell you about this. I know that it was made by Frommer because it says right here, I'm not even going to try and pronounce this, the FEG name, Budapest, Frommer's Patents. That's kind of a giveaway there. It is serial numbered 20 on two of the little teeny parts and no other external markings on it. I can disassemble a little bit of it, but not as much as I would like. So why don't we go ahead and just jump straight to that so I can show you what I can show you about this rifle. All right, so here's that Frommer Budapest patent marking that I mentioned right on the side of the barrel. That is the only external marking on this gun. If we take a look at some of the controls here, we do have a grip safety, which is an interesting and unusual feature to find on a long rifle. This is actually a cocking indicator, so when you dry fire the gun, that is going to flip up like so. However, I can't recock it that way. Not entirely sure why. This lever actually depresses the magazine follower, so when the bolt's locked open, you can press that to release it. Now here on the right side, we have a selector lever for what I presume is automatic and repetition, meaning manually operated and self-operated. And we have a lever here with a little detent. You actually have to pull this out like that, then you can rotate and push it back into place. Now this thing is for disassembly. This will be very familiar to anyone who has a Frommer 1910 or who has watched my Frommer 1910 video, which is, by the way, down in the description text, a link to it. Normally, what you would do is push this button in and then you can unscrew this, and that is how you would disassemble the rear end of the rifle. However, on this one, that button is pretty much frozen in place. Now, if I owned it, I'd take a set of wide-gripped pliers and some cloth, and I would press that in because it'll probably pop open, but it's not my rifle, and so I'm not going to do that. The bolt handle up here is actually kind of interesting because it's actually this spring-loaded lever, and when I pull the lever, I am actually disconnecting the bolt from its recoil spring, which is right there. So this allows me to open the bolt, and the bolt now just floats freely because there's no spring tension on it. There's no spring in the back. This is just open underneath. The spring is located here and out in this tube along the side of the barrel. Now, from looking at this, we can see that that is a 3-lug rotating bolt, which makes sense because that's exactly what Frommer's pistols all had. Now, one of the defining characteristics of a long recoil gun is that the barrel and the bolt are locked together and they travel together rearwards for the full length of the cartridge. What that means is that the barrel in this rifle does move, and it's connected to this inner piece. This unfinished in the white section on the inside is actually movable and it slides backwards. Unfortunately, again, on this one, the barrel it's really tight. There's probably a lot of dried grease in there. And I can only get it to move just the tiniest fraction, but if you watch, especially like right in here, when I push on the barrel, you can see just a little bit of movement right there. And that's the beginning of what would be the action on this rifle. So the bolt would go forward, it would rotate and lock, and then this whole barrel and bolt assembly is going to travel backwards. The bolt will lock to the rear back here. Then this barrel assembly will go forward. When the barrel is all the way forward and in place, it will trip a latch, which then releases the bolt to come forward. Oh, by the way, you can see the bolt is stuck now because the magazine is empty and the follower is up. So this is my opportunity to use this lever on the side to depress the follower. Then I can push the bolt forward. Anyway, during normal operation, you'd have another round in there. When the barrel was fully in place, it releases the bolt. Bolt comes forward, chambers a new round, and you're ready to fire again. Now, I can take this, and if I hold it, it's interesting. If you just grab the handle, you really don't have any way to avoid lifting this latch and detaching the bolt from its recoil spring. However, if I grab it down here and avoid the handle, now I can actually pull it against its recoil spring. So that's how it would actually function. By using this handle, it's kind of cool in that you take the spring pressure off. So it's easier to open, and it means if you're clearing a malfunction or reloading or dealing with it at all, there's no spring tension that's going to throw the bolt forward to crush your fingers if you're messing around on the inside. I should note at this point there is a stripper clip guide right here. That's how this is loaded. It has a flush, sort of a Mauser style, I presume 5-round internal magazine. Another weird, unusual feature of this Frommer rifle is that it has this sort of dust cover on the bottom of the stock that slides back and forth, and I don't really know what this is for, because you can't close everything off. If I close these two ports off, this one is now open, so maybe it's missing a metal piece there that would have covered that. You can kind of see this being, it's also very tight. You can kind of see this being there for cooling and ventilation, with the idea that if you were going to be somewhere dirty, in the mud, you could close it up and prevent gunk from getting into the rifle. But it doesn't quite work that way because it doesn't fully close everything off, as you can see right there. So really not sure what to make of that. Now, I said I'd do some disassembly. The one thing that I can disassemble on this is to take the stock off, which actually will show us a decent amount of interesting things. Point out first, the rear barrel band has actually broken. So it's here, but it's not doing anything. So it's out of the gun at the moment. The front barrel band spring, we simply push down. I'm going to use part of my universal disassembly tool here to push that all the way down. There we go. That takes our front barrel band off, then our rear barrel band just slides forward, and I can take it completely off the rifle. Now I can peel the stock out. There we go. Quick note, the serrations here on the wood stock, I have no idea what they're for. They're a really interesting and unusual feature. They don't act as actual serrations. Of course, they're wood, so they'd be immediately ground off by any metal piece working on those. And there's no matching metal serration on the rifle here. Touch, I guess, maybe, so you know where the bolt handle is in the dark, although that doesn't seem to be a difficult thing to figure out. No idea. But interesting and a very unique feature aesthetically. Okay, the rifle itself. Now that we have the stock off, we can see this, which is a recoil spring mechanism. Being a long recoil action, this is going to have two sets of recoil springs. This is the recoil spring assembly for the barrel. This is the recoil spring for the bolt. So if I open the bolt here, and then I can actually push on the front of this plug, and you can see the hook right here moving. So there's a spring in here for the bolt, and then this is a 2-part spring for the barrel. It's quite stiff, but I can take this bit here and slide it just a little bit back. Like I said, it's really stiff. This is all a barrel jacket. You can see the barrel itself underneath here. It's interesting that some parts are blued and some parts are in the white. You can see that more distinctly down here. Right there, you can see we've got some segments that are silver or in the white, some segments that are nicely blued. There is a track here, and that's what this recoil spring can kind of slide in. So when the whole barrel goes backward, this is going to be pushed with it, this track. I just can't move this thing, it's just too tight. The reason these tracks are there is because this has to be a separate piece in order to be able to assemble the rifle. If this were integral to the barrel, there'd be no way to get it into this barrel jacket or barrel sleeve. So, separate piece there. This moves, there we go, in that little track. So that's what allows it to travel when the barrel goes back and forth. I believe that this whole recoil spring assembly is just sitting pressed up against the receiver right here, and you could probably take it off. There is no way I'm going to pull that off, because I think when I take that out, it will go sprawling, and this spring is stiff enough that I don't know that I would ever be able to get it back into place. So I will leave that for the rifle's next owner to mess with, should they want to. All right, I think you can just barely make it out here. There's a serial number 20 right there on the bottom of the barrel jacket. The other serial number is, again, 20, right there on the bottom of the bolt charging handle. So those are the only two numbers I was able to see on the inside. I suspect that there are probably numbers on the bolt. If you could get that out, you could see them. Well, I really wish I could tell you more about this rifle. I don't know when it was made. I don't know how many were made. I don't know if they were intended for a specific military trial, or if they were tested, or how they performed. It's really kind of up in the air. The long recoil system certainly has potential in a long gun. The Remington Model 8 was a long recoil gun designed by John Browning that was a very popular and effective gun. The only thing really against it was they're a bit complex, as all long recoils are, and they're a bit expensive for the same reason that they're a bit complex. So it doesn't really surprise me that we didn't see a rifle like this become very popular, but like I said, I really wish I knew more that I could tell you. If you have any information about this thing, please, by all means, tell me down in the comments. And if you say, screw it, I know about this, or I don't care if I don't know about this, I want to buy it and own that rifle, well, definitely take a look at the description text. You'll find a link there to Rock Island's catalog page on this piece. You can see their pictures and read their description of it, and place a bid online or over the phone, or come participate live in the auction. Thanks for watching.